Civil liberties are personal guarantees and freedoms that the government cannot abridge, either by law or by judicial interpretation. Though the scope of the term differs among various countries, some examples of civil liberties include the freedom from slavery and forced labor, freedom from torture and death, and the right to liberty and security, freedom from conscience, religion, expression, press, assembly and association, speech, and the right of privacy, the right to equal treatment and due process, and the right to fair trial, as well as the right to life. The following cases are about women and equal rights.
The first case is called Atkins versus Children's Hospital, and it was taken place in 1923. The background of this case is, in 1918, Congress enacted a law which guaranteed a minimum wage to women and children employed in the District of Columbia. It was decided together with the Children's Hospital versus Lyons. The constitutional question is, did the law interfere with the ability of employers and employees to enter into contracts with each other without assuring due process of law, a freedom guaranteed by the Fifth Amendment? The decision was, the court found the minimum wage of employed women and children to be unconstitutional. They decided this because it would greatly increase the police power of the state. The significance of this case is, it stopped the law from violating a citizen's right to freely contract work. The next case is called Griswold versus Connecticut of 1964. The background of this case is, Griswold was the executive director of the Planned Parenthood League of Connecticut. Both she and the medical director for the league gave information, instruction, and other medical advice to married couples concerning birth control. Griswold and her colleague were convicted under Connecticut law, which criminalized the provision of counseling and other medical treatment to married persons for purposes of preventing conception. The constitutional question is, does the Constitution protect the right of marital privacy against state restrictions on a couple's ability to be counseled in the use of contraceptives? The decision of this case was, Griswold won the case and was not charged for any crime. Since there is a right to privacy in marital relations, the right is null and void. The significance of this case is, it's important to feminism. It emphasizes privacy, control over one's personal life, and freedom from government intrusion in relationships. It also helped pave the road for Roe v. Wade.
The next court case is Roe v. Wade, 1971. Roe, who was a Texas resident, wanted to end her pregnancy through abortion. At this time, Texas law stated that you could not abort a pregnancy unless a pregnancy is detrimental to a woman's life. Roe went to court and was unsuccessful her first time due to the fact her lawyer was not strong enough. The second time, Sarah Weddington was able to connect Roe's case, so it was able to seem it was a violation of the amendment, and through questioning previous judges' cases on abortion. Constitutional question was, does the Constitution embraces women's right to terminate her pregnancy by abortion? The decision was 7 votes for Roe, 2 against. The court held that women's right to an abortion goes along with the right to privacy, which was recognized in Griswold v. Connecticut and protected by the 14th Amendment. Abortion is legal through the second trimester. After that, states can freely regulate it. Roe v. Wade is considered one of the most controversial court cases in the U.S. Supreme Court. 46 states were affected by this court's ruling. Roe v. Wade prompted a still continuing national debate about whether or not terminating pregnancy should be illegal or not. Roe v. Wade became one of the most politically significant Supreme Court decisions in history, reshaping national politics, dividing the nation into pro-choice and pro-life, and inspiring grassroots activism.
The next case is called Reed v. Reed of 1971. The background of this case is, the Idaho Probate Code specified that males must be preferred to females in appointing administrators of estates. Sally and Cecil Reed's adopted son died, and both sought to be named the administrator of their son's estate since they were separated. Since the probate code made it so Cecil was appointed administrator, Sally challenged the law in court. The constitutional question was, did the Idaho Probate Code violate the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment? The decision was, all 7 votes were in favor of Reed. The court decided that making Cecil the administrator of the estate was in fact unconstitutional. The significance of this case is, it was the first time since the 14th Amendment had gone into effect in 1868 that the court had deemed a law unconstitutional, or the fact that it was discriminated against women in violation of the Equal Protection Clause. This was a landmark decision that greatly impacted the country. The next case is called Craig v. Boren, 1976. The background of this case is, in Oklahoma, there was a law that prohibited the sale of non-intoxicating beer. However, there were different rules for males and females. The beer couldn't be sold to males under the age of 21 and to females under the age of 18. Curtis Craig challenged the law, saying that it was discriminatory, since he was between the age of 18 and 21. The constitutional question was, did an Oklahoma statute violate the 14th Amendment's Equal Protection Clause by establishing different drinking ages for men and women? The decision of this court case was, Craig won the case by a lot because the court said the law made unconstitutional gender classifications. The court found no relationship between age of genders and their safety with alcohol sale. The significance of this case was, the U.S. Supreme Court established a new standard of judicial review, intermediate scrutiny, which is a standard of judicial review used to examine the constitutionality of a law or regulation for laws with gender-based classifications.
The next case is Califano v. Goldfarb, 1976. Leon Goldfarb was a widow who requested for survivors' benefits under the Social Security Act. Leon's application was denied despite the fact that his wife, Hannah, paid Social Security and taxes for 25 years. In Section 402 of the Constitution, it states that he must be receiving half his support from his wife at the time of death. However, this section did not impose a requirement of on widows whose husbands had passed away recently. Leon challenged this statute under the Due Process Clause of the Fifth Amendment. The constitutional question is, did the gender-based requirements for survivors' benefit in Section 402 violate the due process of the Fifth Amendment? The decision was 5 votes for Goldfarb and 4 against. This court case affirmed that the statute was indeed unconstitutional. The court rejected the generalizations that a wife is most likely on her husband than a husband on his wife. However, in this case, female worker's family was less protected than the family of a male worker. The old gender roles were in the violation of the Due Process Clause. The significance is this is a similar case to Weinberg v. Waynesfield case because a similar statute was invalidated. It helped shape society. Shifting gender roles also made the world think more about gender equality, and through this case, they hope to improve the gender equality.
The next case is called International Union v. Johnson Controls Incorporation, 1991. The background of this case is the company manufactured batteries which contain harmful lead. After some of the female employees became pregnant, the company did not allow any fertile female work in order to protect the growing fetuses from lead poisoning. United Automobile Workers challenged the policy as sexual discrimination. The constitutional question is, does the policy bearing the participation of potentially fertile and pregnant women in occupations that could be detrimental to their reproductive capacities constitute sexual discrimination in violation of Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act? The decision of this case was the automobile workers won every vote since males' reproductive systems could be damaged by the lead and it was discriminatory. The significance of this case was it is widely regarded as one of the most important sex discrimination cases since 1964. It also stopped men from getting lead poisoning.
The next case is Planned Parenthood v. Casey, 1992. The Pennsylvania legislature amended its abortion control law in 1988 and 1989. A minor abortion required a consent of one parent. However, a married woman seeking abortion had to indicate that her husband was aware of her decision to abort the baby. Many of these statements challenged later on in court. A federal appeals court upheld all provision except the husband notification part. The constitutional question is, can a state require women who want an abortion to obtain informed consent, wait 24 hours, and if minors, obtain parental consent without violating their right to abortions as guaranteed by Roe v. Wade? The decision was 5 votes for Planned Parenthood, 4 votes against. In very close victory, Planned Parenthood, the court reaffirmed Roe v. Wade but upheld all the Pennsylvania provisions. The new standard asked whether a state abortion regulation has the purpose or effect of imposing the undue burden, which is defined as substantial obstacle in the path of women seeking an abortion before a fetus attains viability. The significance is the opinion of the court was unique. 3 justices were part of the case. Also, the court enabled the states to pass more laws restricting access of abortion. The next court case is Schuyler v. National Organization for Women, 2002. The now National Organization for Women fields a class of action alleging that certain individuals and groups that oppose legal abortion violated the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act by engaging in a national conspiracy to shut down abortion clinics through a pattern of racketeering activity. The Hobbs Act was enacted as a statute to combat racketeering and labor management disputes. The constitutional question is, do abortion opponents who protest at abortion clinics commit extortion within the meaning of the Hobbs Act? May abortion supporters obtain injunctive relief in a civil action pursuant to the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act? The decision, 8 votes to Scheidler, 1 vote against. The court upheld the abortion opponents did not commit extortion because they did not obtain property from the abortion supporters as required to by the Hobbs Act. The significance is now claims another victory as the Circuit Court of County dismisses Joe Scheidler's hypocritical The last court case is Gonzalez v. Carhart, 2007. Previous court case, the 2003 Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act passed by the U.S. Congress Constitution. Even though the court previously ruled in Stenberg v. Carhart, 2000, that Nebraska law prohibited partial birth abortions was unconstitutional, Gonzalez was able to reverse this decision. Gonzalez created the precedent that anyone who delivers and kills a living fetus could be subject to ill consequences unless it is a result in saving the life of the mother. The Constitutional Convention is the Partial Birth Ban Act of 2003 an unconstitutional violation of personal liberty protected by the Fifth Amendment because the act lacks an exception for partial birth abortions necessary to protect the health of the mother. The decision was 5 votes for Gonzalez, 4 votes against. With a 5-4 win, it upheld Congress's partial birth abortion ban. Also, the court found that there was an uncertainty over whether the Baird procedure is ever necessary to women's health. The significance is Gonzalez influenced the modern abortion debate. He established a new legal precedent allowing such prohibitory laws to be created. However, some people did not like the ruling because it felt it was changing the focus of abortions from women's health.